Hello, and welcome to the Pricing for the Planet podcast, the podcast that explores the intersection of business and sustainability. This episode is special because I'm trying a new format. In this episode, we are super lucky to have Maria, and Maria will share her experience, her journey, and her advice to anyone interested in working in sustainability. Maria, thank you for being here.
My absolute pleasure, Fabien, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Maria, you know the drill. In this podcast, we like to start from the end. So, what would be the key takeaway you would like the audience to remember from this episode?
I had to think really hard about this one, and I'm hoping that's going to be actually useful for people. But my key thing to share around sustainability, the one thing that I want you to take away from this is you will have so many people telling you, no, this cannot be done. No, we've never done it this way. No, it's not possible. Don't take these personally and don't be discouraged, because no matter how many times you get no, eventually something somewhere it clicks and people actually get it. And then, you can take them on that journey with you, but it will take you lots of no's. So yeah, don't be discouraged.
And you are the living example of that because we are, again, super excited to have you. Maybe you can give a quick introduction, but, having this title of Head of Sustainability is kind of like a wow effect for a lot of people.
It definitely was a wow for me when I got it. And I was very proud to get it. So for context, I'm head of sustainability for the wealth management and insurance division within Santander UK. So that means that whilst we have a head of sustainability that looks at Santander UK as a whole, I look specifically at sustainability within wealth and insurance. And that means that I'm in charge of creating the strategy and looking at what kind of products and propositions we want to put in front of our customers to help them achieve their own sustainability goals.
Perfect. And Maria, maybe can you share a little bit about your journey? How did you land this great job? Where did you start your journey? Maybe some, inspiration for the audience today.
Of course, happy to. So my journey probably is quite unique as to how I ended up doing sustainability. It's probably fair to say that it's not something that I was proactively looking for. I was working in innovation in the bank, and one of the first projects when I landed this job in innovation was to start exploring what were the new trends, the new patterns. What is it that we think is genuinely going to change in the future that we need to start paying attention today so that we can help our customers, in the next 5-10 years? And this would have been 2019. And so at that stage, one of the key things that I started to look that there was beginning to be a bit of noise was around green finance. And it was very, very early stages. And I got very curious and I started to bring people to talk to us about what the future of green finance was and share that with my colleagues in the innovation team. And my boss at the time, the head of innovation, said, well, you clearly have like an angle here. Why don't you go and dive on it, right? Go and explore and see what you can find. And I felt utterly unprepared because I knew nothing about it. And because of that, I started to upskill myself around sustainability and did a number of courses. The first one I did was the Cambridge Sustainability Business Management, I think it's what was called. That gave me like a bird's eye view of what sustainability in the context of management, kind of from above, what does it mean for businesses? And as I started to gather some of that understanding, I really understood that this was something that had so much potential for us as a business, and immediately started to just specialize myself in this area, always with my hat around innovation and finding ways to do things differently, which you kind of need in sustainability in a way. And that's really how I started. So it wasn't something I proactively looked for, but I found myself identifying like a niche and then really started to drill down into it. And then COVID hit, and then this kind of exploded from COVID onwards. So I was fortunate in a way that I found myself in a place that had so much to offer, and the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to do and the more I wanted to understand. Especially as a bank, we play such a huge role in enabling and financing the transition that it just felt it's a feel good area. Right, it's driven really by purpose. It not just touches on things that are, it's not just nice to have, or it's just such a wealth of opportunities that we have that yeah, I'm only really just scratching the surface at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very interesting that you are coming from innovation. And now, if you take kind of a step back,
Hmm.
what would be kind of the essential skills or like quality that, anyone interested in sustainability should develop or should, work on?
Yeah, the first one, which ties up with my key takeaway, is build resilience. Like, you really genuinely have to build resilience to work in sustainability. It's ever changing, very dynamic. It makes a lot of people very uncomfortable because it's not new, but the way that we're approaching it in a way it's just, it has to be done in a different way to what we've done in the past, right? And that obviously comes with a lot of challenges. So definitely build that resilience. Perhaps the second one, which is super important, is stakeholder management skills. And this is crucial because having the right level of understanding of how to engage with the different stakeholders, whereas it's, from the CEO of your head of sustainability in your organization, or your CFO or whoever, and all the way to your colleagues in the frontline, your branch colleagues and contact center colleagues, and everyone in between. You're going to meet with so many people that have different priorities and they have their day-to-day jobs. So being able to really engage and tell a holistic story and a comprehensive story about how much this is actually making sense from a business point of view is going to help you achieve any of your goals that you have. So that's probably the key two ones that I would say.
That's super interesting because with pricing for the planet, we developed our like own learning platform around monetizing sustainability, and that's
Yeah,
the same approach, which is you can be super good in sustainability, like biology, chemicals, those kind of things, but
yeah,
if you cannot really monetize, you cannot talk about about sustainability with CFO, with
exactly.
CEO. So you need to learn how to craft a message that will resonate to key leadership. And if you just say, we need to burn the entire company from the ground up and make it green, well, I'm not sure it will work out.
No, exactly. It's really about building that business case in a way that you can translate your message so that if you're in marketing, for example, you understand from a marketing point of view, where's the opportunity for you and for the business. If you are in risk, then the same thing. So you have to be able to translate what it means for the different business areas so that they take it and they understand it on a personal level, right? So it's like, I understand what this means for me and my business and what I need to do and how this benefits the company, our customers, and how it's making us better as an organization, more profitable and more sustainable over time. At the end of the day, that's what you want.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something interesting, that you did this like certificate from Cambridge. Do you
Yeah.
think it's super important to be successful as a head of sustainability to have this kind of like very formal training or certificate, or now we see master, like specialized master in sustainability? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I have a very strong opinion about upskilling, and, and that is that you can never get enough.
Yeah.
But that is very personal, right? So I genuinely do see value for me as an individual and as a professional to have qualifications. And that's something that I genuinely do look for. And I do one pretty much every year. I'll go and find something that just challenges the way that I think and forces me to learn something new in an area that might be either a little bit outside of my comfort zone or completely outside of my comfort zone, like the one that I'm just starting now on AI, which is something that
Mm.
is everywhere. And again, it just feels like I need to understand the language and what it means. So, the way that I tackle that is by getting certifications. I also understand that um, very formal training might not be the best approach for everyone. So, whilst it works for me, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be opportunities for people to work in sustainability if if they gain the experience through work rather than through a dedicated qualification, right? So I found that it's definitely helped me get to where I am, and by providing me the tools that I've needed to be able to do a better job. But again, just understanding that it might not be for everyone.
And I think this discussion is super important because I've seen a lot of people coming to us saying, "Oh, I don't have a master, I don't have a full like educational background on sustainability. I'm worried that I need to go back to school for another 4 or 5 years to
Mm,
access those kind of job." And I think your example is the perfect example of like, no, don't think it won't be possible. I think it's back to what you said, which is like, I think it's about resilience. Build your area of expertise. I think for us, we are saying,
yeah,
learn how to monetize sustainability, and then you will
yeah.
access a bunch of opportunities around sustainability. I love your angles through innovation, like, go to innovation and then you innovate through sustainability. But that's a perfect working path toward these kind of jobs.
It's because, when you're working in sustainability, what I found as I've kind of been doing the job is that, um, back to what I said, sustainability, there's nothing new. It's not like it's a new trend that started 5 years ago. This has been going on for many, many years and decades. The way that we need to approach the problem today is very different. And the only way that we can tackle some of these new challenges is by really thinking differently about how to approach problems that we've had in the past. And the innovation framework and the innovation way of thinking and working genuinely has helped me just think outside of the box as to how we approach some of these problems and just be creative and also have that long-term vision, which is critical for sustainability. You're not looking for something immediate, in the next 6 months, 12 months. You're thinking the next 3, 5, 10, and beyond. So it is really about the building the building blocks today so that you are prepared for the future.
Absolutely. Maria, another question we got all the time, it's like, should I kind of like join a startup that is completely changing the way we are doing business and our society?
Yeah.
Or should we go into sustainability in a big firm because I think my impact will be bigger, but it might be slower? Like, what's your like advice
That is entirely up to the individual. There's no right or wrong answer. I work with incredible people that are in fintechs that are built from the get-go sustainable, that it's in their core values, that everything they do is built with, sustainability, people and planet from the start. And it's inspiring and it's incredible to be surrounded by them. And, you learn loads, and you tend to think, well, they have a purpose from day one and it must be so incredible and they're looking to achieve so much. Um, but working in a big organization, you're absolutely right. It's slower, and you have a million more stakeholders that you need to engage. The impact of what you can do is obviously 10 times, right? And that's kind of one of the things that gets me going, is exactly that, is yes, I get frustrated, and yes, I wish that we could move quicker and do more, and but I know that even if it's going to take me, instead of a year, it's going to take me 5, 10 years, the scale in which the impact of whatever I deliver is going to be so big, and it's going to have such a positive impact to so many people, that that's kind of in its own a good enough reason to actually want you to change from within. Plus, it's a lot more difficult to change an organization from within, and I kind of like the challenge of, you know it's not your business as usual. It really forces you to do things differently, and I genuinely do enjoy that dynamic of just testing the way that we work and just identifying new ways of doing it. So, no right or wrong. It will be a very individual thing to do.
Super interesting. And one thing, it's and I love your profile, because you are right in the middle of kind of like, some people I think bank are part of the problem, some I think bank are part of the solution. So what
Yeah.
concretely, what can a bank do to kind of like help in terms of sustainability? I think that's a big question for a lot of people.
Very big question, and I know how banks tend to be, the like a necessary evil. People sometimes think. The reality is that without banks, we're never going to get to where we need to be in sustainability. Banks are the ones that will be providing the financing of the projects, the companies. Everything that we do is going to require enormous amounts of money for us to move in the right direction. And it's banks that will be providing that financing. So for us, um, the role that we play is so important. And it's interesting that you mentioned, because I had this debate when I first started doing sustainability in the bank, where many people would ask me, do we even have a role to play in this? Like, is it our place to, help customers understand their carbon footprint, or help customers understand how to invest sustainably? And we absolutely have a right to play. And actually, it's part of our, duty of care to our customers, to help them understand how they can move in the right direction. And, we're not perfect as banks. We're far from perfect. And we've got such a long way ahead of us. But we want to do this, with our customers. We want, it's like you hold the hand of your customer and you want to take them on that journey with you as you both make changes. So, banks absolutely have a pivotal role to play in sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more from a personal story, we spent the past 2 3 years now working in sustainability, how can really make an impact. And
Mm-hmm.
we are always coming back to this kind of like, it will be a money conversation. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do it at scale, if you want to do it at your village,
Yeah,
you might escape. But if you want to do it at scale and to have big impact, it's always coming back to banks, fundings, and
absolutely.
monetization of sustainability. So that's I'm like 100% with you. And it's too bad because I think there is this, like remorse, and we see a lot of young, very talented people and young students saying, "Oh, no, I don't want to go in bank anymore. Or I don't want to go in private equity because I want to
Yeah,
work in sustainability." Well, actually, there is a world where you can do sustainability in those organizations, and that's
yeah.
probably where you will make the biggest impact.
Absolutely. And interestingly, I remember having a conversation with one of these fintech that I worked with in the past. And, when I was getting very frustrated at the beginning of my sustainability journey and thinking, oh, maybe I should just, go and work for an organization like you because you've got such a passion and purpose. And I remember them looking at me and saying, yeah, but like you're going to provide the finance.
Yeah.
If you manage to get one little thing done in the bank, that's going to have such a huge impact that we as a small fintech could only dream of having the impact of millions of customers when you deliver, even if it's just a small thing. So, when that was like a bit of an aha moment, and I'm like, oh, actually, you're right. It is absolutely valid to go and work for any big organization that, again, might not be doing perfectly well in their sustainability journey now, but that makes it even more powerful for you to actually have a hand in moving the dial in the right direction. You've got like a really interesting and challenging task ahead of you. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something interesting with, because you have a lot of exposure to fintech and new
Mm-hmm.
companies. If anyone is interested to, like go into this sustainability career, do you see any emerging trends or any new thing, like going on the market or like kind of like picking up that they should kind of like try to catch up?
Yes, AI. And I
Okay.
have to say AI because, I go to events and panels, and this is across financial sector, industry events, and fintechs and everything in between that might pique my interest. And the one thing that keeps coming in every single discussion is, how is AI going to change the way that we do things? What are the opportunities for us to accelerate the transition using AI? So, and I don't mean go and become perfect in coding or
Yeah.
anything like that, but it's being aware that there's going to be a massive acceleration of the technologies that we will be able to use to accelerate the transition, and understanding how you can apply these new technologies to accelerate some of the propositions that you want to put in front of customers, and how that is going to bring commercial opportunities for the businesses is going to be, I mean, genuinely, that's probably the biggest things that I would say is understanding AI and the intersection with sustainability is going to help you accelerate your career significantly.
Perfect. And actually, that's great that you mentioned that because I just did a podcast episode right before, like, yeah, I mean, the two episodes before this one.
Uh-huh.
And it was around this intersection of AI and sustainability with William.
So important.
So yeah, so you can go check out this podcast. And obviously, being leading data and AI for manufacturing at Google, I will not say the opposite. And I think
Yeah.
that's important to mention because we see a lot of pushback, a lot of people saying technology is a problem and technology is not part of the solution if we want to become sustainable. And I strongly disagree. And
Yeah.
William was saying the same thing, and I think you agree.
Yeah, I'm
I
saying
think
the same.
yeah.
Yeah, we can only do so much with what we have today, but developing new technologies and capabilities genuinely can transform and take us from curve that looks like this at the moment, like really slowly going up to just really accelerating exponentially the growth and again business opportunities. There's just so much money to be made from helping companies transition. From every opportunity, companies can genuinely achieve so much more and support customers, and it's just there's so much opportunity. Sometimes baffles me when people just don't see it at times, and the opportunity is just humongous. It's genuinely enormous.
Absolutely. And maybe last question, Maria. I know you are quite busy, but I think last question is really about networking and mentoring. So how can the audience, how can they leverage mentoring and networking to accelerate their career in sustainability?
I'm gonna say be absolutely shameless in reaching out to people that you think you can learn from. I definitely have no shame in asking for advice or help when I feel that there's somebody that can give me a nugget of information that's gonna really help me. Um, Even if I don't know them, I'll internally I've reached out to people in the bank and say, I know that you're working in something like this, and I'm very interested in understanding how this can have an impact in, the work that I do. Let's have a chat. And to be fair, most people, most people are more than happy to share their expertise and spare 10, 15 minutes and of their time to just talk about themselves and what they're doing, especially because they're probably very proud of the work that they do, so they'll be more than happy to share it. And I do this both internally and externally, right? So I'll reach out on LinkedIn. I'm always happy for people to reach out to me and have a chat. So that's one thing. Just be shameless and ask. And the second is go to events. There's loads of free events, definitely here in London where I am based, but equally in your city, wherever you are, go find out where the events that are around sustainability, or if you work in one of these co-working spaces and there's new companies that are sustainable, go and sit with them, have a chat. Again, just be curious and ask.
Perfect. I love that. Maria, thank you so much. It was very, very insightful. I'm sure a lot of people will be inspired by your journey. So thank you so
Thank you.
much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Fabien.
And for the audience, if you want to continue this journey with us, you know the drill. www.pricingfortheplanet.com. We have our own events that Maria mentioned, so you can go check the all
Brilliant.
the great stuff that we are putting together. We have a free newsletter, so feel free to go on the website and register. And through the podcast, technically, you should be able to learn a bunch of things in this space. So thanks again, and be well.
Thanks.